What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome back to Ask Sloan. I'm Sloan,
I'm Ben.
and this is our special guest today, Gary Katz.
Welcome,
Hello, everyone.
Gary.
Thank you.
So Gary is a patent attorney, and he has done the trademarking for my new ventures in Tavos. And so we're very excited to have Gary with us today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things: trade secrets, patents, trademarks. But first, Gary, please give us a little bit about your background and your expertise.
Okay, I'm originally from New Jersey. I went to Rutgers University, got a science undergraduate degree, and then went to Rutgers Law School, graduated in 99. And my first job out of law school was with ExxonMobil. I worked as a patent attorney for the research company, doing upstream and helping Exxon with the technology development and licensing of technology. I then went off on my own, did some entrepreneur pursuits, went to a big law firm, and then started my own law firm. And more recently, I launched a technology startup myself, doing water management and water purification, in which I had to secure the IP. So I've represented some of the biggest clients in the world, both in-house and with the law firm, and small startups. So I have a unique perspective on IP from different angles, including as an entrepreneur.
That's
That's awesome, Gary.
that's awesome. I
Thank you
didn't
so
know that
much.
you brought in a fellow Rutgers alum
Come
from New
on.
Jersey.
What?
There
Go
you go,
Scarlet
Hey,
man.
that's
Knights!
what I'm talking about.
Let's go,
Yes.
Scarlet
Hey,
Knights,
there we
man.
go. So, for all you out there who do not know what IP is, it stands for intellectual property. Okay. So these are intellectual property rights. Okay. Trade secrets, patents, trademarks, copyrights. We're not really going to cover copyright today because we're going to run out of time before we can get to that subject. But we're mainly talking about patents and trademarks. But there is this really neat little thing called a trade secret. Gary, I'd love you to tell us what is a trade secret and when would you use a trade secret instead of a patent?
Okay, so a trade secret is technology or a competitive advantage, some information that gives you an advantage in the marketplace. Now, in order to secure a trade secret, you have to keep it secret in your organization. It's not enough to just say, oh, it's a trade secret. You have to actually take precautions and let the entire company know that's a trade secret and not to be shared with the public. An example, the most famous example of a trade secret is the Coca Cola formula. Now, Coca Cola, everyone knows it's a secret. All their employees know it is. And in fact, only two employees know the exact formula at any one given time. So that's how they manage to keep it a secret. And if someone were to steal it, it would subject you to the employee for criminal charges. So it can be very valuable if used right. The most important thing is you have to protect it as a trade secret. And the weakness is if someone were to independently develop it or reverse engineer your product, you will then lose your trade secret.
Wow. Wow. I know your wheels are spinning. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. So if I can reverse engineer a product and not necessarily get this trade secret straight from an employee, then I've essentially cracked the case, broke the secret code.
Yes, so if someone were, in theory, to independently develop the same recipe as Coca Cola, Coca Cola cannot stop someone from going to market. It's only unlawfully obtaining that recipe.
Well, that's a catch 22 because if they say you have the same recipe as me, then they've essentially exposed themselves.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Gary, because I know that Tesla and Elon Musk are famous for not patenting their technologies and their IP. Are they using trade secret law to protect their technologies, or do they just not care altogether? What is the strategy that they are employing? Because I know, like as an example, Ford has spent like $3 billion on trying to develop autonomous driving, and they scrapped the whole project. And also, I know that Apple spent like $20 billion trying to develop the same types of technologies and have scrapped the whole project. And so Tesla's way ahead of the game when it comes to autonomous driving, but they don't have any patents. What's the strategy behind that?
So Tesla does employ trade secrets. Obviously, their key employees would be put under a confidentiality agreement, an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to make sure that their technology is kept secret. But they also employ something else, which is called the first mover advantage.
Ooh.
That Tesla makes sure to go to the market first and always come up with new innovation before anyone else. Now, Tesla could do that because they have very smart individuals and they also have uh, enormous resources so they can develop the technology and be at the forefront faster than anyone else and offer their products. However, for most entrepreneurs, they don't have the resources that an Elon Musk or Tesla has. If they don't get a patent and the product is successful, what happens is very often they are proving this new technology, which they believe which should be a disruptive technology, for their competitor who they should be disrupting because the competitor has more resources, they have the market, they have the brand recognition similar to Tesla, and they'll say, Thank you. It's in the market, it's in the public domain. You proved the market. Great job. Now we'll run with your product. Now, a patent is designed to protect that. Now, what exactly is a patent is? A patent is the right to exclude others from making, using, or copy the technology you disclose. Now, America was the first country to adopt a patent system. In fact, it's in the U.S. Constitution. A fun fact:
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson was the first commissioner of patents for the U.S. Now, what they wanted to create was an incentive for people to disclose their ideas, and society will improve by the disclosure of ideas. So, what they created was a system where the US would grant a monopoly on that idea for a limited number of years in exchange for the disclosure. And after that disclosure, the idea was in the public domain in the belief, and it's proven out over time, that the society benefits from the open disclosure of ideas. So it is a win win win. It's a win for the inventor. He gets a monopoly for a set number of years. It's now 20 years from data disclosure.
Wow,
It's a
20 years. I thought
yes,
it was 10.
no,
When did they change it?
it's been 20 years for quite some time,
Okay.
over 20 years.
Oh,
So
okay. Wow.
and it's 20 years from data disclosure. Society wins because they have the disclosure ideas, and after that 20 years. It's in the public domain. Anyone can use it.
Okay.
And also, the government wins because the government is able to get fees from the patent. In fact, the patent office is one of the few federal agencies that are self sufficient in making money. So, when most agencies are shut down because of the government shutdown,
Yeah.
the patent office is running because they don't need government
They don't
fund from
need government
Congress.
funding.
They get funding from industry and inventors that pay the filing fees.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And what is the filing fee for a patent?
So typically, a filing fee is in the U.S. Is not a lot. Provisional patent can run depending on how you're filing it. Are you filing as a micro entity, a small business, or as a large business? Can run anywhere from under $100 to $400, and then a non-provisional application, which actually gets examined, could be anywhere from 500 to 2,000, depending on your status.
So what are some like initial steps that someone might take if they want to file a patent?
Okay, so the first thing is to understand your invention. You really need to understand in detail. I always recommend that my clients write down what we call is an invention disclosure statement. They should write down what they invented. They should also write down what the competition is doing right now. What are people doing right now? And what's the issue with it? And how they solve that issue? Do they solve a pain point? Do they improve existing technology? Do they, what benefit do they provide with the technology? And then they just should describe it in incredible detail so that anyone, when reading the document, can understand and practice the invention. One of the things is, in order to get a valid patent, is you have to provide an enabling disclosure, and the definition of enabling disclosure is enough detail for one skilled in the art, someone else in that field, to make and practice the invention. So it is quite a bit of work. Now, patents are also valuable. I say it's worth the time and effort. In fact, most of the billion-dollar judgments in the U.S. have been patent cases.
Wow.
So how do you know whether or not somebody's coming to file a patent that hasn't already, like an invention that hasn't already been created? Do you have to like go through the millions of archives of patents that already exist?
Well, you used to have to go through the catalog files, but now, thankfully, everything's online. So you could search. In fact, Google Patent is a very powerful tool. You can go to the Patent Office website. Most patent sites are online. Uh, and at that point, what you would do is you would search both the patent record and the public literature record and make sure that your invention is novel. Now, under US law, and most countries have similar laws, you are entitled to a patent if you meet three criteria. Those three criteria, it must be novel. That means it has to be different than what anyone else has disclosed. It must be unobvious. It can't be just an obvious combination of multiple elements that achieve the known
Result?
result or the intended result of combining it. And it must be useful. That means it must provide some type of benefit. So if you have those three elements under U.S. law, you're entitled to a patent.
Awesome.
Who gets to determine if it's useful though? Isn't that like dependent on who's using it?
Well, you have to show that there's a benefit. So if you have a device that's faster, um, some technology that could do something that no one's else done before, and it provides a benefit to society, you've met the requirement of useful. In fact, when you file a patent application, it gets examined by the patent office, and they have professionals, which they call patent examiners, who review the patent, make sure you meet all the formalities, and also review and make sure that's novel, unobvious, and useful. And the role of a patent attorney is to work with the examiner to make sure that it gets examined properly, and if it you meet that criteria, it gets issued and you have the patent. And then as an entrepreneur, you don't have to worry about people copying your invention. You can focus on taking it to market because let's face it, most people don't have the resources of Elon Musk. They need the protection of a patent in order to compete with the more established companies.
Now, don't you have to police your own patent?
It's good to police your own patent, but not necessarily. So once it gets issued, you should then go ahead and take it to market. Now, if someone decides to copy it, there are law firms that will represent small owners on a contingency basis. So, if it becomes valuable and a large corporation decides to infringe on that patent, there are ways that a smaller entrepreneur or an individual can enforce their patent.
But there's nobody out there like trying to do that for you. So like if someone's infringing on your patent and you don't know about it, nobody's going to just bring that case. You have to be the one that recognizes that your patent is being infringed upon and then bring a lawsuit, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So the patent office doesn't enforce
There's no
patents;
enforcement, right?
they just grant it. So it's the owner of the patent has the obligation or the discretion on whether or not to enforce the patents.
S-
Awesome. What? Go ahead, man.
Sorry. I
No,
was just
no, go
gonna
ahead.
say, so in other words, there's no practical way to actually police your own patent. You just need to consistently search if somebody's used it or not.
Well, if you file a patent, most people intend to work in that field, so you should know what people are doing in the field.
Okay.
So if you're in, say, the financial field, you most likely, unless they're a very small player, you'll know if a major player is copying what you're doing.
Sure. It'll come up. I mean, if you're like you said, if you're in the market will pop up with this new product, and you know that it's yours.
And that's only applicable in the US though,
But what
right?
about what about the whole China situation, right? How they like knock off everything, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we see this situation, and then you can't enforce your patent with the manufacturing in China. What's that
Yeah,
situation
you
like?
can't. That's true. You can't enforce your patent with the manufacturer in China. However, once that product enters the U.S., if you have a patent or even a trademark that's being infringed, you could have the U.S. Marshals confiscate that immediately upon entry into the
Oh
U.S.
wow. Okay. Awesome.
So that's actually a strong enforcement mechanism.
That's excellent news. Thank you, United States government.
Is there
Your
any way
tax dollars.
to do that overseas? Like have a patent that crosses borders?
Yes, you can. In fact, uh, what we have is the Patent Cooperation Treaty. Currently, there's over 150 countries that are members of it. So if you file in a country that's a signature to the Paris Convention, which is part of the Patent Cooperation Treaty, you can then file within a year in the Patent Cooperation Treaty, and that gets examined, and then you have between 29 months to 31 months to file in the countries, and then it gets examined in those individual countries. Now, some countries will rubber stamp the decision of the PCT, and other countries will consider it, and other countries will ignore it. But at least it's a vehicle to file once and be able to go in other countries. Now, obviously, different countries have different strengths and weaknesses. The U.S. and Europe are considered very strong countries
Okay.
when it comes to patents. Japan, South Korea, Australia are very strong countries.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, China is a very weak country when it comes to that,
Right.
and but they're actually working on strengthening their laws because they realize allowing everyone to copy and infringe on other people's technologies is preventing technology from being developed in China. So they actually see it both ways. Now, it's very hard to enforce a patent in China. However, if you have partners in China that know the court system. That's one way to deal with it.
Okay.
Another way is, for example, Apple, because Apple spends billions of dollars and manufactures in China. The government will enforce Apple's patents very rigorously.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that's
there
good
is
news for
some
Apple.
enforcement mechanisms. Uh, One of the things you could do is Singapore is a country that's known for the shipping lanes, that
Right.
pretty much all commerce goes through Singapore.
Yep.
You could file a patent in Singapore. It's a country with very strong patent laws. And then a lot of the warehouses where they store the goods, you could
Would
confiscate them there.
Awesome.
are they part of that agreement, that Paris
Yes,
agreement?
even China is part of the Paris Agreement. In
So
fact, almost every country is part of the Paris Agreement.
so if we file a patent here in America, it isn't automatically applicable to the other countries. You need to go and also file in those other countries as well.
That's correct. However, they meet once the product enters the U.S., you could protect the U.S. market.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, last question on patents before we move to trademarks. Okay. What is the average cost of patenting a single technology? And is it different between a utility patent and a process patent?
So, to answer your question, unfortunately, patents are not cheap. Now, there's really two types of patents. There's a design patent
Design.
and a
That's what I meant.
utility patent.
Design and utility.
Now, utility patents, they cover ideas, technology improvement, and those tend to be very expensive. I would say to
Yeah.
expect a minimum to get a high quality patent
Hmm.
with all the filing fees, attorney's fees, you have to have drawings. You're probably going to spend a minimum of $10,000
Okay.
for a simple invention. Some of the more difficult inventions, such as pharmaceuticals,
Okay.
you could spend 30, 40, 50. I've even heard big firms charging up to $100,000
Okay.
for a pharmaceutical patent. But if you look at the cost to develop some of these pharmaceutical companies will spend
Oh,
$1 billion
billions of
researching it.
dollars. Yeah.
So $100,000 to
It's not a
file a
big deal.
patent uh, is insignificant compared to the research that they have in. And if they don't get a patent, that entire research could be lost.
I'm sure
Now,
they include that in the funding too.
yeah, typically, that would be included in the funding. Now, a design patent is a little cheaper. That covers the artistic design. So, for example, uh, you mentioned Ford Motor Company. So, if you had a new improved radiator that improved the cooling efficiency of the Ford truck, that would be a typical utility patent.
Okay.
However, if Ford wanted to protect the artistic design of the radiator hood or the radiator vent, that would be a design patent.
Okay.
Now, historically, most people said design patents weren't worth that much, but that changed approximately 15 years ago when Apple won $1 billion judgment against Samsung. Because you might remember when Samsung first came out with their phone,
Absolutely.
they
Yep.
looked almost identical to an Apple iPhone.
Yeah.
Apple sued them saying, "You've infringed upon our design patent,"
Our
and
look
won
and
a
feel.
$1 billion judgment.
Yep.
Since then, no one's been saying that design patents aren't worth anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so for all of our young entrepreneurs out there, our small business owners, it's about 10 grand, maybe up to 20 to get a really good patent if they have a really good invention for a utility patent, and maybe 5 to 10 for a design if they got a really good design. Uh,
I
and
would say
and
less than five for a design,
and maybe
maybe
even less than
maybe
5. Okay.
two to three thousand
2 to
dollars
3. Okay.
for a design patent.
Okay, awesome.
All
And
and that's
and
all in
and
costs.
we definitely recommend they do that to get that protection and to be able to get in the marketplace. And then they also have something of value to take to a bigger player,
Yeah.
and be able to sell for, a whole lot more money and get them in the game, right?
Yeah, when you're going to your strategic partners, your distribution channels, if you say I have a patent on it, that gives you a lot of credibility. Also, with investors, investors know the value of a patent, particularly if you're promoting it as a breakthrough or game changing idea, because they know if you don't have a patent and you're not Elon Musk, who has a huge resource advantage and is constantly innovating and coming out with better products, that it's very hard to compete with the bigger players in this marketplace.
Awesome.
In
Awesome.
other words, file your patent before you go on Shark Tank.
Come on. File your patent
Definitely,
before you go on
definitely.
Shark Tank.
Or
That's right.
Mr. Wonderful could say, "Why don't I take your idea and go to market and pay you zero?"
Absolutely.
And he's not the only one who's thinking that. A lot of bigger players with a lot of resources will be very happy to take your idea, particularly after you spend years of your life and all the sweat and tears to take it to market and prove it, only to see someone else benefit from your ideas. Now you have to file it before you put it in commerce. Now the U.S. you have a 1 year window from date of first sale to file it. However, I recommend that everyone file the patent before they start selling it because in Europe and most of the world, it's a strict bar Once you put it in commerce, you can no longer patent it.
Wow. Okay.
Have you
So you
seen?
heard that, folks. You got to patent it first, and then you can take it to market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things we do is uh, we mentioned $10,000 minimum for a good non uh, utility patent. We can actually file inexpensively a provisional patent, and that's good for a year, and that gives you time to take it to market, see if there's you get traction, and if so, then you can go ahead and spend the money to file a non-provisional patent, which gets examined.
Awesome.
Interesting. Have you seen artificial intelligence influence this realm of work at all? Whether it's bringing in new ideas that are more esoteric, or maybe helping, other patent lawyers in their line of work?
Yes, artificial intelligence is becoming important. Now, artificial intelligence obviously cannot be an inventor of the technology. The idea has to come from a person. However, artificial intelligence could help develop the idea very quickly. It's very useful in writing patents for taking the idea and looking for vertical markets that I typically use artificial intelligence for. It's also a good check to make sure that everything is consistent. We can also use it to combine ideas, combine patents into one patent, which would normally take an attorney many hours to do it. Artificial intelligence could do it in seconds, and but it's very important that the attorney still go over and read it because artificial intelligence will make mistakes. So I
It
don't
does to
recommend
hallucinate, don't it?
having an artificial intelligence write the entire patent, but it is a very useful tool. In fact, I mentioned I'm doing a startup on water technology. We were working on a grant application, actually with the X Prize, which we won the first round for water scarcity.
Well,
And I
congratulations.
was writing,
Congratulations, bro.
thank
Come
you.
Awesome,
on.
man.
I was writing the proposal, and I wanted ChatGPT to help me with the proposal. So I stated this is what we were doing, and ChatGPT said, "No, this is wrong. This is not the right way to do it." So
Wow.
I went ahead and I explained the reasons why we're doing it and the benefits it would provide. And surprisingly, ChatGPT understood it and said, yes, based on that, it will actually improve the existing technology. It is a good idea. You should do it. And then very quickly, it was able to do the energy mass balance equations and other
Wow.
supporting documents that needed it. Now, it still has a way to go to be able to do it. It then asked me, would it like me to do an engineering drawing? And I said yes, and it would only draw the old state of the art, not what we wanted to do. And no matter how many times I probably spent about an hour with it explaining how to redo the drawings, it couldn't get the
It couldn't.
engineering drawings right.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it's the the large language module needs more inputs. Maybe it needs to be refined some more, but still, it was not able to do the engineering drawings, even though conceptually it understood the benefits and was able to do the mathematical equations.
How long ago was that?
This was about 6 months ago.
Oh, wow. So this was like the latest version then.
Yes, this was the latest version.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the large language model has all the historical data, but creating new data
Yeah.
is it's not there yet. That's generative AI. It's not.
Yeah,
It's where they're trying to
Yeah.
go, but the
yeah.
AI can't create
Yeah.
something new
That's
for you.
artificial
So
generative intelligence.
correct.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
what it was doing, it had the drawings in its storage, but it couldn't generate a new drawing based on the description
Right.
that was given on what changes we
It
needed.
just had no reference.
It
I'm
had no
sorry, I
reference.
misspoke. It's artificial general intelligence, meaning the artificial intelligence that corrects itself, and that intelligence can then come up with new ideas and innovate itself. So then what happens in the world of patents then?
We'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. However,
So let's give them your best advice. We love to give them a piece of wisdom here at the end. What is your best advice for the folks at home?
if you have a new idea, write it down in tremendous detail, do as much searching as you can, and if you think that there's a value in the marketplace, particularly if the technology is new, novel, and useful, solves a problem that's a significant pain point for others in that field, and they're willing to pay money, then yes, absolutely, you should go speak to a patent attorney, and you should, as soon as you file the patent, take it to market as quickly as possible. Don't wait for the patent to issue. Once you have that patent pending status, take it to market, because only the marketplace can decide whether an idea is good or not and whether it's the right time or not. Sometimes you could have a great idea. If you're too early or too late to the marketplace, you'll miss the opportunity. So you need not just the great idea, but you also have to have the timing to make it work.
Well, thank you so much, Gary. Gary Katz Law. We're definitely going to give you his credentials so you can reach out to him if you're looking for a patent or a trademark. He processed our trademark for Centavos. We're going to have him on again soon, and we'll cover that topic. But thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And we'll see you next time.